Hey KU fans, welcome back to KU Sports Extra. For the first time in 2020 and for the first time in like 11 weeks.
I thought you were going to say for the first time in 20 weeks because it feels like a long time, but yeah.
It does.
Both those things are true.
I missed you, man.
Oh, thanks.
On the road out there, coast to coast, Philly, then out to Palo Alto.
You were all over the place.
I was all over the place. It was tough not having my crew there with me. You're my crew.
Just me.
Well, if you
Not-
look back
not
here, you
Shane.
see Shane. He's part of the crew too. We've all got matching bags now. It's a good holiday for the Journal World crew. It was a good day for Kansas, though. After a rough first half, I don't think there's any other way to describe it.
No.
They flipped the script and figured out a way to solve this physical, tough, nasty West Virginia team, largely with defense, and held them to 53 points and win 60-53 in a Big 12 opener that now extends their winning streak in conference openers to 29 games in a row. There's so much streak talk around Kansas, right? Always with the Big 12 title streaks and all that, but that one is incredible. I mean, that's incredible. 29 in a row going back to 91. How old were you in 1991?
I'm probably about 10, I would say. Yeah.
Larry Bird was a big part of your life then. Still is.
Oh, of course.
But a big part of the day for Kansas, again, was their defense. What stood out for you defensively with this team, Ben?
Well, I mean, it was the second half when we really saw that defense pick up, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the defense wasn't there in the first half either.
No.
You mentioned the offense was bad. The defense was bad, too.
Right.
I mean, West Virginia was doing the very Bob Huggins teams things that we expect Bob
Right.
Huggins teams to do, right? Offensive rebounds, second chance points, points off turnovers, points in
Right.
the paint, all of that.
Yeah.
Everything.
Total control.
Everything that Bill Self, no doubt, harped on for the past week.
Right.
This is West Virginia. This is Bob Huggins. This is what they're going to do. This is how they play. And Marcus Garrett told me afterward that, I mean, he tried to tell the players kind of the same thing, all right? This is how physically tough they're going to be
Sure.
defensively. But they weren't ready for it.
Yeah.
Thankfully for KU, they adjusted.
Right.
And they adjusted well. And you know, great call by Self to kind of switch things up with the lineup in the second half and go with Christian Braun in a four-guard lineup instead of sticking with those two bigs, even though it kind of made sense with West Virginia's front line, like two bigs versus two bigs. Like you weren't thinking like, this isn't going to work. Should have worked.
Yeah.
But it just didn't, and they went smaller, and it was really effective, especially defensively.
It was effective because of Garrett and because of Christian Braun. I mean, the kid is tenacious. You know, he's 6'6", 205. He's given up, 50 pounds to Oscar or whoever else down low, and he doesn't care. He goes in there, throws his body around, crashes the glass, dives on the floor. He made a couple of big shots today, too. I mean, he just brought the right mindset. And Self said after the game, the best quote he gave, I thought, was, we just had to go with our 5 toughest guys in a game like that. And he was definitely one of them. He is definitely one of them. Not just today, but overall. And, he played 5 guys 93% of the minutes in the second half. That's remarkable. But you're right. I mean, this seemed like a game that was tailor-made for David McCormick and Silvio to have an impact. And they didn't get a great opportunity to do that, but it's because it wasn't earned. And it really brings back the point that it's not just so much matchups, right? It's not just so much, well, here's a big guy, so let's put our big guy on him. It's a question of, can they play together in space? Can they create openings? Because that was as big a part of it as anything. When those two guys were out there, with one of those guys was out there with Udoka, there was no room for Dotson to drive it, no room for Garrett to drive it, no room for Christian Braun to drive it or play. Take one of them off the floor, it opens all of that up, and KU looked much better, 36-13 to 23 in the second half. West Virginia could hardly score, and I think it was just the mindset. I think those 5 guys, really brought the mindset that I don't care how big you are, I don't care how physical you are, I don't care if I'd be scared of you in a dark alley. I'm going to fight you out here because it's okay for me to, and I have 16,000 fans on my back. And it worked for Kansas, man. This was a tough win and a great way to start off the Big 12 race. Not because it was pretty, but because they should feel good about the way they won this game.
Absolutely. That tough guy lineup that they went with in the second half. So we got Devon Dotson, Ochai, Marcus Garrett, Christian Braun, and Udoka, right?
Right.
So they played almost 16 minutes, and they were plus 18 when those guys were on the floor. Worked so well. I'm curious now to see where Self goes with this, because it seems like we've been waiting all year for like that fourth guy on the perimeter to emerge to be like
Sure.
The obvious choice to, when you're going away from McCormick, who do you insert?
Right.
Is it going to be Christian Brown now? I mean, he's still young and he's still picking things up, but I mean, to do that against that tough West Virginia team was really impressive.
Well, two things. Self said he's probably going to play more now. We've heard that before, and it's been true. And we've also heard that this is a situation where they got to get more three-point shooting.
Yeah.
And they continue to say that Christian Brown's one of their better three-point shooters. He still didn't make shots today. He still hasn't done that yet this year. If he can find a way to knock down those shots, and he's got plenty of time. There's a lot of season left still. If he can find a way to do that and then play the way he does everywhere else, he's not just going to play more. He could be starting material.
Absolutely.
And I know they've stuck with the two bigs and they've stuck with McCormick all season for games like this, being ready for this style. And so they had this option there. Now that they have one of these behind them, nothing would surprise me anymore. I don't think it's imminent that they're going away from the two bigs in the starting lineup, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. Would it surprise you?
No. And I mean, you mentioned KU needs three-point shooting, right?
Yeah.
So what today? They're like 3 for 17 from
Right.
three. None of those threes were looking easy, and West Virginia is obviously one of the better three-point defensive teams around.
Right.
They did that. Marcus Garrett was kind of explaining this afterward. Like, most teams, if you drive off the bounce, that help's going to come from a nearby guard immediately. West Virginia doesn't play it that way.
Right.
They stick with their man on the perimeter, and the only help comes from big inside. So when you drive and you're thinking, okay, this is where I kick it out to shoot to a three-point shooter.
Turnover.
Yeah, it's going to be a turnover, or you're not going to find an open man.
Yeah.
So I mean that's why those 3-pointers were so tough today against that West Virginia team. So ideally, if you're KU against other teams, you can kind of go back to what does work offensively, and you get better looks, and you're not pulling your hair out about those lack of 3-pointers.
Yeah, it'll be interesting Wednesday night at Iowa State to see if they're more comfortable in that environment. It's at Hilton. It's not going to be easy, but certainly a different style of team, a different physical game that they'll play. But I think that's the thing. I think this team, these young guys, and even some of the veterans that needed to be reminded. Bill Self said it, that they were shell-shocked a little bit. Even Udoka, who's been here for 100 years, and probably everyone but Marcus Garrett.
Right.
Shell-shocked is the word Self used, and I think that describes the first half pretty well. In the second half, it completely flipped, though, and West Virginia looked shell-shocked. They couldn't score. They couldn't do anything that worked in the first half, and that was because of adjustments and because KU was just tougher. So KU wins at 60-53. Benton and I are heading to Ames on Wednesday. It's one of your favorite places. When I go to Hawaii, you go to Ames.
I know. I'm like, fine, have fun in Maui. I prefer Ames.
This is going to be great. I can't wait. You can show me around. We'll see you guys up there. KU 11-2 now and 1-0 in Big 12 play. It's just beginning. For Benton Smith, I'm Matt Tate. Thanks for checking out KU Sports Extra.